Hi, everyone. My name is James King from Canada. Good to have you guys here today. I know you guys are from Jordan, Egypt, Syria, and a few other countries. Sorry if I don't get your countries named here, but it's good to be here today with you guys. What I'm gonna do today is um, I'm gonna make some presentations on the um, why Canada. Why James King is here today to make the presentation about Canadian market. So I'm gonna go through slowly. And Dr. Semi, do me a favor. If anybody raises hand or questions, please stop me so that I can stop for a bit and answer some questions because this is gonna be pretty long slides because I need to put some more information, like important information. So if you want me to stop, that'd be great. Okay. So let me get started here. So welcome everyone. You can hear me? Dr. Sammy, can you hear me? Awesome. Okay. All right. Well, let me go ahead. So it's about LPN. LPN is licensed practical nurse that the term is being used in Canada. And you guys all nurses, well-known nurses, smartest nurses. You guys all done the nursing program to become a nurse, and you guys probably know about become NCLEX passer, RN license, and then plan to go to US, which kind of halted to go to US at the moment because of the immigration policy in place in the United States. So let's go to the so sorry, there are more people that want to join here, so I'm gonna let them in. So basically, the whole point here is there used to be a path where Canada accepted the registered nurse from overseas. So um, the peak was during the COVID. When COVID happened, Canada was short of so many thousands of nurses. So anybody who passed the NCLEX, hold a license, they're all welcomed in to the country. And that's taking a lot of parts in Canada right now. But however, the conception has changed a little bit, where the practice between the overseas and Canada are a little different. So there is a gap between the practice that is being done in Canada and other countries. And I'm not saying that, the nurses overseas do not have knowledge or clinical background. It's just the way the system is done is different compared to Canada. And that's why we are currently working towards getting more LPN nurses to the country. And I'm going to explain you why in the next slide. So LPN is essential in hospitals, nursing homes, community care, long-term centers, the rural areas. It's not just the main cities. Canada is a huge country, as you all know, and it's all dispersed. And I'm going to explain you why RN is not going to be working out well for you guys in Canada today and why I'm making recommendations. LPN is the way to go. And there is a real demand in LPN. And I'm going to give you every step of the process and explanations throughout this seminar, okay? So the summary that I can have is there's a high demand. and there is high reward, which I put it because you are the most needs at this time in Canada. They fill the LPN shortages and the pathway to become a permanent resident and a decent amount of salary information. And all family comes together to the country. And so you don't have to be coming yourself and waiting for the permanent resident to be done and bring your family after. It's all about the family together pathway that will integrate your life from your countries to Canada. And financially, nurses will not suffer in Canada. I have never seen anyone working as a nurse in Canada who's financially not stable. And also, I'm going to give you a bit more information about the timeline too. So I call LPNs our backbone. So under the supervision of RN, there are so many LPNs that are working with RNs. And while they're supervising, LPN does work with the PCAs or PSWs on a daily clinical care, and they are actually the middleman between the RNs and the PCAs. So the IV or any checks that need to be done by the nurse is carried out by LPNs. And that's why, as you can see from the diagram here, there are so many RNs that you need, but LPNs numbers are growing, but the demands are still here, but supply is down here. And LPNs are considered the fastest tracking process that we can really manage at this time. And the shortage is a big part why LPNs are in strong demands. So Canada, a lot of nurses get paid pretty well and they prefer living in the cities. Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, Calgary, Ottawa, Edmonton, they're big cities. And why would nurses want to stay in the smaller towns when they can make more money in the big cities and hospitals? And that's, for us, that's an opportunity. You guys are seeking the entry into the country and seeking the permanent residency, then it is going to give you an opportunity to be here and work towards the LPM process. And I'm going to get to the question later, Mister, because that's a popular question that I always get asked. And normally, employer has to give you an offer to start the process. And whether it is PMP or AIP, you get the paperwork started from where you are and coming to Canada. So I'm gonna give a step by step, second, but that's why the process is streamlined and LPNs are, higher demands and needs are there for us to work on it. So between the RN and LPN shortage, RN, like I said, there are thousands of new grads come from universities across the country in Canada. So there's abundance number of RNs already who's tailored to the Canadian system from the moment that they graduate. So LPNs, the less universities to LPNs, and there's a less numbers that are becoming LPN. Even if they become LPN, they want to stay in the bigger cities, not in the rural or the smaller towns. So more urgent vacancies are to be filled by the hospitals and other employers across the country. And like I said, there's high demands outside the major cities, which means people are trying to be crowded in the major cities. And there's a government and employers, they're fast tracking the LPNs as an essential occupations because they need to close the clinics because they don't have the nurses who's able to take care of the patients. So here's a simple but powerful strategy that it is in place for you to be able to work on it. So once you have the paperwork managed, pass the LPN license exam, get a full license, you'll be able to get an offer. And that's where I am having the contracts with the companies and employers in Canada. Once you have the experience, I mean, once you have the offer, you come here as an LPN. That means not only you only have a work permit, you're gonna also have um, the the PR processing with your family. And the second step is gonna be secure your PR status. The PR here in Canada for many nationalities, is considered as a golden ticket. I'm gonna explain it a little bit. Once you become a PR, you no longer have to worry about the status. You can work towards your RN because somebody, I think a lot of them here already passed NCLEX. Keep that on your back pocket because one day you're going to need that. Because once you become a permanent resident, you are free to move to any province or any employer without the restrictions. That being said, your NCLEX result will be toward the RN license. And with the RN license, there's a likelihood that you're going to get the job right away first because you already are in Canada, you're a permanent resident, you have experience in Canada, you have a license. There is opportunity that's waiting for you in front of the door once you become a permanent resident. And here's what I want to tell you. People who have NCLEX who are passers, and they have, let's say, US license or Canadian license as an RN. Here's a challenge. Are you able to get a job from US or Canada as an RN? Here's a critical question. Most of them, they do not at this time. Because like I said, there's a gap in place. They rather keep Canadian nurses as RN because there is a training required to take for international nurses as an RN, which takes about 6 to 8 months. So when Canadian hospitals bring RNs from another country or countries, they need to spend additional 6 to 8 months on training under supervision. So that's cost of money. That's a lot of training involved. So why would we do that, right? Give me 1 second. I think there are more people here. I think. Okay, good. All right. So let me continue. I'm sorry. So most of your education um, will have the credential recognized. So you don't have to really retake the program. As long as you meet the requirements, you're able to go through that without the restrictions. So right now, the problem is you're not having the right opportunity. You're not having the right opportunity as a nurse who wants to move to either US or Canada. I'm going to touch a little bit of the US market a little bit later, uh, but I'm going to suggest the strategy that's going to work out for most of you guys if you guys want to follow with us. So there is a security part. There is more freedom when it comes to mobility, whereas the access to the opportunities. So keep Canada as a first option as your destination so that you can later move to US, UK, Australia, or anywhere that you may want to end up going to work as a nurse. So I've touched this already. The the pathway. Give me 1 second, folks. Rami, do you have any questions? Rami, do you have any questions? If I give the host, then I cannot share. Um, I am seeing that there is nobody. Um, Sorry, guys, give me 1 second. I think there are more people want to join, but we don't. Are you okay, Rami? Yeah, I think the setting itself, when first created, it's all muted for everyone. Rami, if I put you on a host, then I cannot share the screen. That's the problem right now here. I know that's why Dr. Sami gave me the host to share the screen with the people. Um, Give me a second. I'm just trying to figure things out here. Rami, okay. So I'm gonna uh, right now I cannot really change it, Rami. Okay. I have admitted everyone, okay? No, I admit everyone here. So they're in. Are we good? Rami, I brought everyone in. Are we good right now? Hiya. Let me get to the question. So let me answer the question right now, Hiya, because that's for everyone's question. So do you choose to be waiting for the RN positions indefinite period, or do you want to be coming into the country to settle the status and work as RN? Because a door sometimes closes, sometimes opens. You can always become an RN. However, the door to the immigration is not always open for you. So that's my thing. If there is an RN opportunities, you can always do that. However, the pathway itself, which will help you go through that a little faster. So let me continue with this one, okay? So the Canadian recruitment is direct direct connected to the immigration pathway. What that means is you're not just coming here to work. So for like, Gulf countries or, even US, you're coming here to work. But what I'm saying here for Canada is that Canada is not the destination for work. Canada needs people. They are heavily relying on the workforce of the workers. So if you guys come here, you're coming with the family, you're coming to settle and become a permanent resident, and later apply for the Canadian citizenship, which I'm going to cover that a little bit, okay? So so let's touch base a little bit about the financial side because that's what everyone's going to be asking at the later day. LPN in Canada, Mr. Sorry, between 55,000 to 70,000 as a base salary. And I don't know what this amount reflects into your currency, but this one, this salary is above the average of, Canadian income system. And you'll be getting taxed between 17 to 22%. There's a way to save, but I'm not going to touch about that because I'm not a financial consultant. And so every month you're able to bring close to 4,000 Canadian dollars. And when you look at this part, I have been emphasizing the importance of family coming together. One of them is because your spouse is able to get an open work permit. So for the healthcare positions, spouse is entitled to get an open work permit. This is huge because your husband or your wife coming as a spouse will likely be working in Canada while raising children if you have any. So what that means is additional income will be added on top of what principal applicant is making as an LPN. And Canada is also well known as a great medical benefits. So your company will cover the medical insurance and benefits for you and your family. And there is also a provincial um, sorry guys, provincial coverage that will help protect your family and your kids. So um, in terms of this, this is the benefit when you come through the provincial nominee pathway and come here to work and settle. So here is a little you just graph 35 plus is the minimum they're going to be making plus what your spouse is going to bring in. So you're going to be, and also I put three bedroom housing just for your information. Somebody, only couple, you guys don't need three-bedroom houses. If you have kids, you may need three-bedroom houses like I do. I have three kids. But if you don't only have one child or no kids at all, then the expenses will be much, much less. And I'm looking at this from the Atlantic, the region-based uh, the numbers because we're providing the employment match to most of them are going to be in Atlantic provinces at first. So let me explain. So Anas, I think that's a similar question that we've been getting. So I'm gonna get to that later, okay? So phase one, your documents need to be verified. So there's an organization that Dr. Sami or Mr. Rami are covering depending on where you are. You guys will get all the help to go through the documentation verification. I'm sure you guys have completed either 3-year program or 4-year degree program, so your eligibility to work as LPN will not have an issue with that. And while your verification is being done, the next phase is that you need to be prepared for the LPN exam because you being working as RN will have a completely different scope working as an LPN. So this has actually created a lot of troubles for people who thought that they can do well all the on the LPN exam, whereas they have not done that because the scope is completely different. And phase three, like I explained, once you have an offer, you pass the exam, have a license, you'll be able to go through the job matching plus the work permit nomination program and then permanent residency the pathway. So timeline, this is pretty accurate but approximate. Wes, as soon as you bring all the documents in, the assessment will be done between 4 to 8 weeks. Dr. Sami, Mr. Rami, if you've got earlier than that, longer than that, I guess that puts into the average. I have seen like taking 3 weeks, some taking like 9 weeks. So it all depends. And also the CLP-NNL, that's the College of Licensed Practical Nurse of Newfoundland, which takes between 8 to 12 weeks based on the complete documentation paperwork. So as soon as you bring all the documents in, I'm sure that many of you have completed before, but this will be pretty quick if your documentation is fully ready. The phase two is, like I said, we are hosting the group sessions for Egyptians, Jordanians, African countries, Philippines, India, all kinds. And we are basically getting you to be ready with the exams. And a couple days ago, we've got people that have complete the exams, did pretty good and comfortable, and have some feedback. So we're hoping that we can do the same for you guys. And there is an employment match, there's a provision nomination, there's a work permit processing, which will happen simultaneously. I mean, in a sequential orders. And from the time that you start the nomination process until become a permanent resident, I'm guessing that we're gonna, spend about, 15 months to help you become a permanent resident. You'll not get any residency faster than this in any other countries unless you put your money into the investment. But this is probably one of the fastest PR process that you can ever imagine compared to any other countries. So this part is the reason that I'm sharing this is because this is going to be helping you envision, not now, not just getting a license. Look at 3 years, 5 years, because you're not going to be coming here to Canada without that specific purpose. So in Canada, the moment that you become a permanent resident, and from the time, if you live in Canada for 2.5 years to 3 years, you'll be eligible to apply for the Canadian citizenship. This is a critical step after you become a permanent resident because being a Canadian citizenship and holding the Canadian passport will get you anywhere. You can go to US, the neighbor, you can go to UK or Ireland or like GCC, Australia with a Canadian passport. And as you know, there are a lot of nurses from your countries, India, Philippines, African countries, they become a permanent resident. And as a Canadian nurse, you get paid much higher in any countries that you go to after. So US, UK, Australia, global mobility, anything is possible once you become a Canadian citizen. So here's a brief step. You're currently, most of you guys are pretty much in the first phase, which is the international educated nurse, and take a step to become an LPN. That's not the end goal. The middle goal is to become a permanent resident, and that's not your end goal either. Become a Canadian citizen, and that's going to help you and your family find the right status. And you are basically free to go anywhere. And I think that helps you plan if you're specific, have kids, education. Sometimes some countries are limited with the mobility and freedom when it comes to like where you want to go. But coming here as LPN, and you'll become an RN after because that's kind of next stage. You set up your status, and that's gonna get you anywhere that you guys want to go. That's basically that's all I have for today. We covered the the pathway to LPN, how the timeline, and strategic move from the Jordanians or Egyptians, and become an LPN, and you get a permanent residency, and then become an RN and become a Canadian citizen, and then that's basically what we help thousands of nurses to envision. And I hope you do the same. I hope we can do the same for you guys. Um, Let me get to that point, Miriam. That's a great question. I am going to take the questions. Dr. Sammy, is it okay if I take the questions? All right. Yeah, Mr. Ami. English test. Okay. All right. I'm gonna just not gonna answer like individual question, but I'm gonna talk about the the requirements wise for the bigger pieces. Okay. Um, you do not need the English result for your licensing application or West application, given the fact that, so here's a condition to it. Uh, the English result is going to be waived for your West application or licensing application if you have either one of those. One, if you completed your nursing education in English, whether in Egypt, Jordan, or any other countries, if you've done it in English, you will not be required to take the English exam for the licensing. Second, let's say if you complete your education in language that is not English, however, if you have experience in hospitals or places where the instruction is primarily done in English, then you're also going to be waived. So for that purpose, you needed 2 years of proof that you are working in the English speaking workplace. Um, when you need English is when you start the immigration pathway. So once you pass the exam, that's the time that you need to bring the result to us because um, for immigration, they are going to ask you for the language test result, the minimum CLB 5, not overall, every category. However, as for nurses, the expectation from the employer is higher because you have to directly work with the patients. You have to be able to have a good communication. So they're expecting higher than 5. So if you guys are able to bring minimum 5 or higher or anything that is, better than that, we'll review. And that's the requirement for the language result for the immigration processing. Rami, I think I want to talk about the RN, what's going to happen with the RN. So not overall, Miriam, it's going to be every category have to meet CLB 5. But like I said, that's the bottom line. As a nurse, we're expecting higher because communication is the key when you deliver any services to the patients or within the team. So employers sometimes are skeptical or not very positive if you bring like bare 5. Yeah, Basma PT exam is possible. Yes, we accept PT exam as well. 6 overall is gonna be strong. Mohammed, let me get to that part in a while. I will have that. Okay, how long? Okay, we're okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, sure. So let me answer the questions. Okay, um, Smith. So that's for the express entry. So the great point that you brought up, the CLB 7 is tier 1. That's when you do the express entry. When you go through the provision nominee program or AIP, you do not require CLB 7. I hope that is clear. So let's talk about the RN and CLEX. So even somebody holding an RN license or LPN license in Canada, you are still required to take either one because the scope of services that is being done by RN and LPN are different. So even if you hold the RN license in US or Canada, to work as LPN, you still required to take the LPN exam. So RN is more advanced level for sure than LPN. But like I advised, LPN, so people that have passed RN does not mean that they can pass LPN without preparation, as the change of scope is significant. So the roles, the responsibilities, accountability, the way they do the job, everything becomes a little different between RN and LPN. You are still required to take the LPN exam. So yeah, Kareem, yes, PT core, PT core is accepted. That's right. Osama, so let me explain that. So I have delivered the LPNs, and then the transition from LPN to RN has become much, much easier. First, you have Canadian experience. So in Nova Scotia and any other provinces, they're starting to recognize the experience in Canada becomes very vital. What that means is that without Canadian experience, they do not really count the experience from overseas as strong ground to um, pursue as the RN practice. But if you work as LPN, you're already exposed to the Canadian environment. You have both licenses and you are already PR. So there are no restrictions in terms of the hospitals to hire nurses as RN. So that concern is valid. However, given the situations, the chance for you to get an RN position from Canada will be much easier than waiting for the job offer from where you are. So 100 plus NCLEX passers are coming to me and make the transition to LPN because people that have been waiting for the job offer as RN are not getting an offer for over a year. The reason is clear. They're not hiring, even if they hold the RN license, because they never practice in Canada. So I think that also aligned the question that one of the ladies asked before. I forgot the name of the lady here. I'm gonna find it. The lady that, oh, Haya. Okay. So I don't know if she's still here. So you're gonna compare, are you going to wait for RN opportunity from Egypt or Jordan for indefinite period? Or do you want to come to Canada as an LPN and get settled and get a permanent residency? And this only takes 15 to, let's say 18 months that you can practice as RN. So chance for you to make the transition as RN from Canada is going to be faster than waiting for the offer for indefinite period of time. This one will not be guaranteed compared to the LPN pathway. And that's the argument that I'm making right now. For anybody who's telling me that the how about RN? So do you think you can get an offer? Because it's going to be very difficult to do that. So we have a Mr. Hassan here that has gone through the LPN pathway with me. He's from Cairo University and he's RN. He wants to become RN in Canada, but the challenge is that it's not easy. The experience is not recognized compared to Canadian experience. So that's why we are trying to tailor that into the LPN pathway so that you're able to come to Canada a little bit faster than RN. I guess not just a little bit, much faster than the RN pathway. Um, Mr. Zahir, Mustafa. Um, Correct. Yeah, your point is correct. So if you can get the LPN, sorry, IELTS or PT or anything now, great, but it's not the priority that we need to focus on right now because English can be waived for the LPN licensing. So if you want to wait until you pass exam for the LPN side, that's what I recommend. If you can clear that right now, you can still do that because the IELTS result or CELP or PT is going to be valid for 2 years. All right. Yasir, do you provide any form of housing support or temporary accommodation pro? So that's a great point. In North America, unlike GCC countries, um, there is no housing support or temporary accommodation. But what we support is because we have the communities that support, excuse me, each other. So if you come with by yourself or with your family at first, we help you find the right place so that you can stay. And if you're gonna stay longer, then you can do that. But normally, Canadian lease comes from 6 months or 12 months. So if you choose the place, then you gotta stay for at least 6 months or 12 months before you can move out to other places. Hi, I'm leaving now in USA after exam that I work as LPN. Can I work as yes, yeah, that's correct. So, like I said, LPN, you think of it as a stepping stone. You all can become an RN, but the reason that we're promoting the LPN pathway is that it's faster, it's more assured, and you can later work as RN because you still have the record, the result of the NCLEX that you passed. So you can always become an RN. Even you can apply for the license while working as an LPN, but you're not able to practice as RN, not because you have a license, because you are currently working for the employer who brought you from your country to work in Canada as an LPN. So that's aligned with my explanation that once you become a permanent resident, you're not restricted to working for one employer. You can work for one or two or three, as many as you can without the restrictions. So, to answer your question, yes, you can work as RN once you become a permanent resident. Delhi, that's a great question. Sorry, that's a great question. How to take the exam? Yes, LPN exam is online. You don't have to travel to Kenya. You don't have to travel to South Africa to take the exam. Um, the LPN exam is being done online. Um, Sorry, let me just Miriam, yes, LPN exam is online. Um, Mutaz, let me answer the question once I finish this part, okay? Mhm. Um, about the living cost, food and car insurance. Sorry, I don't read. I'm not able to read Arabic, so um, okay. So Rami, just can you guide me a little bit what questions that are appropriate to answer at this time? I answered the question about the language part. What are the favorite questions that I need to answer at this time? Okay, contract. Okay, all right. Rami, what I'll do is fees for immigration. I think that's gonna be that will de really depend on the legal aspect. So I'm not gonna really touch about that part today. But I can talk about the contract. So for Canada, um, most employers want at least 2 to 3 years of commitment because they are the one who brings over to the country to help you find a new home, settle, and become a permanent resident. So uh, the few companies that I work with, they have specifically state that they want 3 years of commitment. And that commitment is broken, then they're able to recoup the money that that's spent on you guys, like flights and all the things. So, and also given the fact that let's say 18 to, like take a year and a half to 2 years to become a permanent resident, you only have 1 year to commit as LPN. But a lot of hospitals and employers, what they do is once you become a permanent resident, they actually promote you as RN as long as you have RN license, they promote you from LPN to RN because you have the history. So um, transition to RN is not my concern. My concern is if you guys are able to come here, settle, and make Canada as a new home and adjust to the new culture and family here. So that's most of my concern is coming from there, not really coming from you guys not passing the exam after. Yeah. So, in terms of contract, think of it as 3 years maximum. If you're between 2 to 3 years, that's still fine. But 3 years is gonna be good timeline that you can work towards become an LPN, the permanent resident, and transition to RN. But as I advised, you are free to go anywhere once your commitment is done to well, if you want to go to Toronto, if you want to go to Vancouver, if you want to go to anywhere, you are not on the hook. You're off the hook. You can go anywhere with your family. What's the average monthly expenses? That's a great question. That okay. I'm gonna talk about. So I'm gonna answer the question for him because he has a family of five. To be honest with you, that really depends on where you are and depends on how you spend money. So I am very conscious about the finance. So our expenses are not that high for our family of five, but we also both work. I work, my wife works. So as for you, if you work as a nurse, I don't know what your spouse does, but if your spouse works when you're in Canada, you'll likely be saving more and you can be more conscious about your spendings. So I cannot really give the, direct response as to what would be the expenses because that varies by the family members. Yes. So this is important note, everyone. Whether you're coming from NCLEX Go from Dr. Sammy, or whether you're coming from Egypt, coming from Z American from based in Egypt, they are going to handle all your paperwork from West LPN license. All the documents will be prepared by these folks. They're great, professional, have done this for a long time. So the time that you guys will come to me is when it comes to recruitment part. Once you pass the LPN license and the our company from Canada provides the LPN the preparation program. So that will be covered by us. But when it comes to documentation, it'll be done by Z American and NCLEX Go in the respective countries. Um, Basma, that's a great question. Let me answer this question. Yes. So Basma, what we're gonna be doing is when it comes to work permits, we're going to apply all together for your family members. Then, once approved, it's your choice if you're going to come here to settle for a month or two and bring your family over from Egypt or Jordan or anywhere where you can come all together from your country to Canada. But as long as we have approval for all your work permits or study permits or a visitor record for your kids, you can make that decision based on your family side. So um, regarding contracts, someone asked about if there's any signing bonus like US. Um, some offers that. So a lot of rural companies, they do from time to time, especially government hospitals, they offer that to get more nurses to the country. I'm not sure how much because that all depends, but if that's your question, yes, I can say that. So to practice RN for everyone, so I think a lot of questions are about when you are able to practice as RN. Think of it this way. One, until you become a permanent resident, you need to work as LPN, whether taking 12 months, 15 months, or 18 months, because your work permit is restricted to one employer as an LPN. So until you can go through and become a permanent resident, you're LPN. But if you pass NCLEX during that time, already have the RN license while working as LPN, you can make the transition to RN once you have the proof of permanent residency. So that's pretty, keep it simple. I don't, you cannot work as RN until you become a permanent resident because of the legal requirements. So please note that working as RN is after you become a permanent resident, okay? And by the way, everyone, I am visiting Jordan next month. So if you guys are from Jordan or anybody who's able to join, please talk to Dr. Sammy or Mr. Rami that um, we will get to see you guys. I haven't really talked to Dr. Sammy or Mr. Rami about having on in person and also have the live available from the venue. But if anybody who's interested in doing that, we can also coordinate that at the same time, which I need some answer from the folks. So okay, so Zoom user, I can enter to Canada and start process to have LPN exam. No, so um, that's not how it works. What you have to do is you have to go through the paperwork and pass the LPN exam with the full license. Then you can come here as LPN and not before. You have to pass the exam, get a license, and then get employment. Then you can come over. Walid Ibrahim. I don't know if Walid is still here. That's a great question. Walid. Yeah, Mr. Walid Ibrahim. If I hold an RN license in Canada, so may I ask you where you are currently holding a license from? Which province? Oh, perfect. So if you already have a license, what you can do is simply apply for CLP, Nova Scotia LPN license, and they will expedite your application because the information that is submitted to RN will be basically transmitted to LPN. Do not go with the New Brunswick because it's tough on the French part. So go with the Nova Scotia, get an LPN. I can get you and then once you get the eligibility from the Nova Scotia LPN, you're able to get the date And as soon as you have that, given to Mr. Rami or Mr. Dr. Sami, I will organize the next process for you. Okay, Mr. Walid? Kareem, so great question. Um, yeah, you'll be restricted to one employer in that particular province until you become a permanent resident. Because you're basically sponsored by the employer with the job offer to come here and go through the immigration pathway. Nice, Wallet. Please do that. Yes, Zahir, yes, that's correct. But she needs some experience to apply for the LPN license, at least like 11, 25 hours. So please go through that. Um, 35 is a bottom line. That's a bottom line because I don't want to give you over promise, but 3,500 is a bottom line that you're able to make as LPN. That's the very lower side. Um, okay, let me talk about the LPN exam timeline. So let's go back here. Dr. Sami, Mr. Rami, I hope that it's okay for me to go through some of the stuff here with the folks here. So once you go through West application, the LPN license application, you'll be given the eligibility to take the exam. So our goal is not to spend more time on the preparation after your eligibility is given. When the LPN license is being processed, I need all of you to start preparing for the LPN exam so that we can get the date and choose the date, take it right away, not waiting for 2 months to prepare for the exam. So the key here is that once you start the process, either Dr. Sami or Mr. Rami will advise you when would be the good time to start the exam preparation. So um, we'll cover that part. To work as RN concerns resident status. No, that's correct. So it's about the status in the country. So RN license, as long as you meet the requirements to become the hold a license, once you pass the NCLEX exam, you can get a license. So Basma, our company, Global Health Solutions, which is my company, has entire structure to provide the LPN preparation for all the students. So you can inquire to Dr. Sami or Mr. Rami, depending on where you're coming from. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, you need to send both. So, Mahmoud, it's a great question. LPN exam is done every 2 months, not just one day. In January, there's a couple of dates. So I know that we have our students taking the exam January 1st, January 5th, January 14th, January 15th, January 17th, January 22nd, January 27th, and January 29th. So it's a lot of dates that they have the exams, and it's every 2 months. January, March, May, July, September, November. It rotates. Yeah, there is one on the March. Yes. LPN exam, it's cost, I think, Hassan, was it like $500 or something? That's exactly right, Mr. Zaire. Yes. RN, don't spend too much time holding on hope getting the job offer as RN because that will put you nowhere. You're not going to go anywhere with that hope, especially US market is not accepting any nurses at the moment other than Canada. Basima, so if you fail 4 times, you have to wait 1 year, but I'm sure if you prepare well with us, you're able to pass on your first attempt. Mr. Hassan here from Egypt passed the LPN exam on his first attempt with exceptional scores.